General Miguna Miguna touched down at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport today, 26th March 2018, shortly after 2 p.m. However, as at the time I went to the studio to make this recording, at 9 p.m. Kenyan time, General Miguna was still at the airport. He had still not been granted entry into his motherland. Now let us break down the technicalities here, leading to the reason why Miguna Miguna has been refused entry. Now ordinarily, when you arrive in a foreign country, a country that's not yours, okay, what you do is you come into the immigration officer and you present your passport. Yeah. If you already have a visa to enter the country, the immigration officer will look at the visa, and even at that stage, they could still opt not to let into the country. Okay, but however, a visa is supposed to be something to allow you into the country for a certain period of time. Maybe you have a visa for 3 months, etc., etc. However, if you're returning home to your own home country, you don't need a visa. You're coming back home. And so ordinarily what will happen is that the immigration official will just stamp entry. Yeah, will give you a stamp indicating that you have re-entered your home country. Now in the case of Miguna, we know that he does not have a Kenyan passport. Okay, he has a foreign passport. He has a Canadian passport. He's a citizen of Canada. However, our constitution allows you to be a citizen of more than one country. Yeah, that is your home. You automatically are a citizen. If you're a Kenyan, you're a citizen of Kenya. Yeah, and then you can have one other country. Yeah, a passport belonging to one other country, because you cannot be issued with a passport from any country unless you're a citizen of that country. And so, in order to leave Canada, Miguna used his Canadian passport because he doesn't have any other passport. And that's what allowed him on the plane. And he flew into Nairobi. But when he landed in Nairobi, he could not use his Canadian passport because he's a Kenyan. So ordinarily what would have happened is that because people lose passports all the time, yeah, sometimes people misplace passports, okay. Ordinarily what would have happened is that as soon as he stepped into immigration, they would have issued him with a temporary travel document. And on that document, they'd have stamped his entry into the country. Now, of course, Miguna is a thinker. He had organized himself. And so as soon as he arrived into the country, he did not present his Canadian passport. And of course, he knew that he's coming into a hostile situation, a very hostile atmosphere, despite the fact that he's a Kenyan. Yeah. And what immigration told him was that as far as they were concerned, he was a foreigner. He's a Canadian. And so what they offered him was a 6-month visa to enter the country as a foreigner. Yeah. Now ordinarily this would be a tourist visa. Now of course a tourist visa has limitations. Of course you're not allowed to work. Okay. You just entered the country as a tourist. Okay. So if you want to work, you need to get other documents like work permits. Okay. Also, a tourist visa does not allow you to dive into the politics of that country. Because the purpose of your visit was not politics. The purpose of your visit was tourism. Yeah, you're on holiday. Yeah, you're coming to tour the country. Now, somebody can argue that what Miguna should have done, he should have just accepted the deal. Yeah, applied for a 6-month visa to enter Kenya. And, been allowed into the country. And then once he was in the country, he would have done, anything he wants to do because he's a Kenyan. And it's very interesting because one of his lawyers was of that opinion. One of his lawyers felt that instead of all this drama, Miguna should have accepted the 6-month, to apply for the 6-month visa to enter the country as a tourist, and then sorted himself out once he's in Kenya. Yeah, maybe rush to a court for a court order and so on and so forth. However, there are legal implications, because if Miguna had accepted that deal, what would have legally, it would have meant that Miguna has accepted that he's not a national of Kenya. Yeah, he's not a citizen of Kenya. And of course, that was a trap. Yeah, because it would have got him into all kinds of messes legally. And so, that is what the standoff is all about. And that is the reason that Miguna has not been able to enter the country over 6 hours later as I make this recording. He is still at the airport. Now, some people are arguing, or rather at least one person has argued, in my hearing, that Miguna is not Raila. Therefore, even if he's kept at the airport for 2 days or longer, there's no problem. He cannot be able to muster the numbers to create problems. Protests and so on and so forth, picketing and so on and so forth. Now, while it's true that the crowd at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport that was there to receive Miguna is not a large crowd, it's just a small collection of a few people. If I can give you a ballpark figure, probably about 100 people, or less. And many of them are NRM troops, if I can call them that. And something else which is very interesting, an aside, which I think is worth mentioning, it seems that the general is in communication with his troops on the ground. Because despite the fact that he has been denied entry to the country, he has managed to sneak his Canadian passport, out of the airport. And it was put in the hands of a trusted member of NRM. And the reason for this was to block, preempt any attempt to forcibly take away the passport from him. The truth is, this cannot stop him from being forcibly deported, if I can use that word, yet again from Kenya. Okay, the fact that he has no passport on him, it can't stop that. However, at least his passport is safe. Okay. Now, I'm not very sure if that statement that keeping Miguna at the airport will do nothing in terms of raising temperatures and causing protests and picketing. I'm not too sure about that. However, in my view, that is not even the issue. The issue are the huge political implications of this latest development. And believe me, the political implications are huge, and have a very high likelihood of having repercussions and consequences that would spread very far and wide, and cause more than just a small ripple on the Kenyan political situation at the moment. For starters, the fact that the government of Kenya has chosen to keep on treating Miguna as a foreigner means that the famous Uhuru-Raila handshake did not include Miguna. We know there was an agreement, an amnesty of sorts, on all opposition figures who had been harassed. Cases have been withdrawn. Passports that had been seized have been returned, and so on and so forth. Clearly, Miguna was not included in that amnesty. Now, that raises quite a number of very, very hot political potatoes. Does it mean that in shaking Uhuru's hand, Raila had accepted that Miguna was not included in his deal? That is the first question. Now, this is a very serious situation for Raila Odinga, because NRM has got support. It has got its supporters. And indeed, a vast majority of Kenyans see Miguna Miguna and the NRM as the only hope left for Kenya, as far as electoral justice and as far as bringing about change is concerned. And so, the fact that Raila has not shown solidarity, he was not at the airport, he has not issued any statement in support of Miguna, in this latest fiasco, the whole situation puts Raila Odinga in a very, very delicate situation. The implication and perception is that Raila Odinga does not support the NRM. In other words, some people would interpret it to mean that before Kenyans were on their own, but together with Raila Odinga. But now the new position is that Kenyans are absolutely on their own with Miguna Miguna. It would imply that Raila Odinga is no longer with the people. Now, NRM troops have a very interesting thing to say about this. Yeah, that is an eye-opener. They say that the reason why Miguna is held at the airport is because both the government, wait for this one, and also the opposition are frightened of Miguna Miguna. Both the government and the opposition do not want Miguna back in the country. Both parties see Miguna Miguna as a threat. Yes, that is what NRM troops are saying. Now, that would be the view of the NRM troops, and it may not be the correct position. However, there's something else very troubling that is now very clear from this latest drama. And it is the fact that nothing has changed. Since the handshake, which was supposed to change everything, the reality is that the handshake has not actually changed everything. Clearly, the dictatorial and draconian ways of Jubilee are still very much around. To summarize it all in one very clear statement, this is the biggest threat to the Raila Uhuru handshake. And that is because it has the potential of provoking even those few who are still with Raila Odinga, those giving him the benefit of the doubt and trusting him that in his move he will bring about real change in Kenya, that he will force the original NASA agenda on the table. This single Miguna incident would cause such people to cross the floor, completely away from NASA, completely away from supporting Raila Odinga, into fully backing the NRM and Miguna Miguna. And that would be a very, very major shift on the political situation in the country. And so, whether or not Miguna Miguna is finally allowed into the country, whether or not we see any fracas, demonstrations, picketing, that seems to be irrelevant now. Because even if all those things do not happen, our politics has been changed very, very dramatically by the actions of the government of Kenya today. In other words, the actions have strengthened Miguna Miguna and then NRM tremendously. Had they just allowed Miguna Miguna back into his motherland without any drama, Miguna Miguna and then NRM would not have the clout they now enjoy as a result of the latest drama. This is the wrong tactical move by the government of Kenya, and it is a move that they will definitely live to regret very, very, very much. They will definitely regret this lifting up Miguna Miguna a notch higher, as far as his political profile is concerned, as well as his backing and support. I will of course keep on monitoring the situation very closely on your behalf, but that is what we now have on our local political scene. And I can promise you, it's going to be a very, very interesting next few hours. Remember that the international press at the airport, the whole world is watching. Yes, as a native of Kenya, he is being denied entry into the country. And of course, by now, the word is getting out very rapidly that the reason why he has not been allowed in is that the government still considers him a foreigner, a Canadian, and not a Kenyan. This is just the kind of thing that will birth very juicy headlines that are not good for the Jubilee government. Not good at all. Until next time, this is Kshs Kumekucha.